Ladies and gentlemen, this is an audible because sometimes change is good. And over this past weekend, the event that we called the March to 200 million happened. And you fellas was right. It happened. They made it.
We
They
in
made
here.
it. They did it. What else
Without
is
question.
next? What else is next? It seems like the emotions are in. My boys was going at it before this podcast started. Y'all don't even know. Just sitting back and watching these fellas talk, listen to these fellas talk. I was enjoying myself over here. But Griff, you been barking, bro. You been barking. Griff came in with the bark. He came through the curtains with the bark on. I said, "Yeah, my man's is ready. My man Wilson, how you feeling?"
I am having my if you guys could see me right now, I'd have on my Kobe face because I love being right. Uh we said long ago, without question, without hesitation, I spoke on our podcast previous. I didn't go with 150, I didn't go with 170. I told people flat out this was gonna break 200 million, never had a doubt in my mind, and the proof is in the receipts. It is what it is. It's an awesome movie. It's an awesome spectacle. It's one of those few times where you've had a pop culture movie transcend and become more cultural. And that comes with both good and both bad, but we'll get through all that in this podcast here. But I feel awesome about it, man. I think that it was a great experience and I can't wait to dive in.
What's the count at, fellas? I gotta know so far. It's Sunday the
It said,
18th. What's y'all count at so
it
far?
said 192, but see what's great about this weekend. It's supposed to encompass 4 days because tomorrow's President's Day. So we're
Yeah.
counting all of this, and it's well going to shatter 200 plus. And it's amazing that we called this. Marcus called this. I was a little shaky on it. I pegged it at 180. And then I would say, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go for it. 200, the road to 200. And it's there, man. It's there, man. It felt good going to Black Panther. I am kind of jealous that none of the people at my premieres were just like really just out there with their outfits. I kind of would have loved to see that. And I went with the white folks. I ain't gonna lie to
Man,
you.
my theater was about 65% white on my end too.
So was mine.
It was
Hey,
it was a
but
lot of white folks
the
there.
thing that I loved about the movie, before we get into the thing that I loved about it, because everybody wants to say that, oh, it's a black film, blah blah blah. It didn't bring everybody together because most people that watches the Marvel films are predominantly white, and then there's some black people, your Asians, blah blah blah. We're sprinkled in there. And the thing I loved about this movie was when I was sitting at the movie, when I was watching, I watching the IMAX on Thursday, and I was watching the film, and there was a white lady next to me with her family, and her kid was laying in his in her arm. And it was amazing to see that the movie that, like, just like Captain America, just like Thor, is just like that. It has the Marvel formula, but it opened the eyes to a larger party, a large audience of people that are not accustomed of seeing black excellence on film. So it was amazing to see, because how I felt that is this little the lady was holding her child, and the kid was like, "Oh, mommy, this movie is way better than." He was saying the movie was way better than he expected it to be. And he was just really asking his mom about a lot of stuff. She says, I really don't know. And she said, I'm trying to pay attention just like how you are. This was like a little 8-year-old boy laying on his mom. But it was good to see that both of them were in tune and wanted to know more about this. And I really loved it, man. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
And there's so many black women should be inspired by this movie. Like just seeing people your color doing their business. They was handling their
Doing
business,
the
bro.
goddamn thing. Okoye, shout out to
What?
Okoye.
What?
Owned it.
Sure.
Shout out to my bae, smartest woman on earth. Big ups to Shuri.
Sure, bro. She's the next goat. She is the next one.
Hey,
Without Shuri, Black Panther might not have lasted 20 minutes in the movie.
Exactly.
What?
He would have been all shot up, bullets and everything. Oh, look at me, my bullets.
And she
Let me
gave
put
him
my helmet
a
on.
selection of suits. What?
Hey, but you know what is amazing about that? Throw out there some facts out there for people that don't know. Shuri in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the smartest person in the universe. That's smarter than Tony Stark, smarter than Hank Pym, smarter than Bruce Banner.
Reed
The
Richards,
smartest. Hey, there you go.
It's like Queen Magic right there. They
Yes,
don't
sir.
like that. They ain't gonna be
That-
feeling that, man.
I ain't gonna love that.
So what's the overall opinion y'all got from this film, man? Great film, start to finish. First off, I love the full circle element when they started it, how they ended it, and going back to Oakland. And bro, it's like the entire movie just fits so perfectly, bro.
And I loved it with Brian Kluger. He's from Oakland, so this is kind of
Hey, Griff, like you said, him and Michael B. Jordan are starting to become that new Shaq and Kobe tandem in the movie industry.
Yeah, that Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio, you know, they have that magic and that sway. And I've heard a lot of people out there, and I'm about to get my take on it right quick, but I heard a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people that love Michael B. Jordan's portrayal of Killmonger, and there's some people out there that's criticizing, saying that it's too American, too modernized. But the thing about that I love is, as long as he conveys the emotions of a person who's struggling, it doesn't matter if it's modernized or it's a modern take on Killmonger, or he sounds too euthanized or something like that. As long as he's communicating with you and you can get the picture that he's painting, it shouldn't matter. But I digress away from that. So my overall take from the movie was, I think it's like you, it's a fantastic film. I was entertained from start to finish. I've heard a lot of negative criticism out there saying that the film starts off slow. Me personally, that slow build is always the one that's going to hit me the most, because you're setting the tempo, you're introducing to me what is this film supposed to do. And if you don't have that intro scene, without spoiling anything, if you do not have the intro scene, none of the film works, because all of the branches that come in the film are rooted from that starting point. If you go back and watch the movie and you think about it, everything that happens is because of that intro scene. So I thought it was wonderful. I love the cast. I love the themes of the movie. The cinematography was nice when you get to see a Wakanda, or you get to see where the White Gorilla clan lives at. I thought that was fantastic. There are CG elements that are dodgy, that could use a little work, but it didn't take me out of the film. There was nothing that I was like, oh my God, I don't want to see this movie. I need to leave. Where my money at? But I thought it was a great film, and I'll give my score later on.
Good deal. And what about you, Will?
For me, and understand as the old man, the Uncle Buzzkill of the group, I will do my best to represent in that format. First and foremost, I think that it was a good story. It was a good movie, period. I'm not looking at it through the eyes of it being a comic book movie. I'm not looking at it through the eyes of it being a Marvel movie. I'm first and foremost looking at it as being a movie. Uh, I like the story. I like the plot. I like the way that they kind of worked the characters in and kind of gave them layers and depth that kind of helped you bring yourself to become emotionally invested in what the characters represented and what they were doing in the movie. I agree with Griff on the fact that the CGI wasn't the greatest, but to me, that's nitpicking. It didn't do too much to take me out of the movie, or give me that blah feeling, that meh feeling. There were some spots that you could kind of tell, kind of borderline, but nothing that was too dramatic to just kind of take away from the overall quality of the movie. The biggest thing that hits for me is the fact that, as somebody that's lived so long and has been a lifetime fan of comics and comic book movies and pop culture in general, I find it wildly entertaining in the fact that, in my personal opinion, this is arguably the most socially relevant comic book movie that they've ever made. I used to think previously about that, about Watchmen, although it came out a little too late. The things that it dealt with for the time period in which it was created was very relevant as well. But this movie does a great job of that. Also, I like the representation in the movie. It wasn't overbearing. It wasn't beating down your face with blackness per se. It just simply was organic in what it is. It was logical. If you're going to tell a story about a superhero that's an African king, it's going to have a lot of strong African characters in it. It's just the way that it goes. You have a very solid protagonist. You have a very solid antagonist, because I refuse to call Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, a villain. Only villain in that movie was Ulysses Claw. I appreciate the fact that they paid attention to little details and little things, like, for folks that don't read Black Panther, one of the competing tribes that my co-host so eloquently ushered in with his bark. In the comic books, his character is known as Man-Ape. I think that Marvel and Ryan Coogler were very aware of the fact that that might have been a bit of a touchy subject as far as calling him that, so they chose not to call him that. It's one of those little things that kind of keeps it socially responsible, but without taking away from the spirit and intent of the character and of the plot itself. There's little things like that that exist throughout the movie. There's so many different subplots and sub stories and themes that you can get into, which adds to the replay value because you're not going to catch everything in that movie the first time that you watch it. You have to watch it a couple of times to kind of get some of the subtle plots and subplots and stuff like that are going on. A lot of the themes that are applied to it. I love the fact that there is not a weak-willed woman in that entire movie.
At all.
That speaks volumes to me. There's no submissiveness in any of them, and it works. It's not forced. It's not something that you don't believe. Uh, Everything about it is just different. It's one of those situations where you're caught into a movie that has a predominantly black cast. It has a black director behind it. It has a strong black lead with strong black supporting characters, and it's unique in the fact that it doesn't have the typical stigmas and stereotypes associated with black movies or black people. And I'm not saying that in a negative connotation or a positive connotation. We all know that there's just simply certain things that you're going to expect when they talk about a quote unquote black movie. There's going to be certain types of characters involved. There has to be a certain type of theme involved. And it does a good job of getting away from those things. In my lifetime, and again, I'll be 42 in July. The only instances that I know of that have occurred where it's paralleled like that is with the Inkwell, with Boomerang, and with Love Jones. Those are the only movies that I know of besides this one where it's a predominantly all black cast, but there's not your typical stigmas or stereotypes attached to them. And not coincidentally, a lot of those movies had similar divisiveness and opinions and positive and negative views associated with it as well. But overall, I think it's an outstanding movie. As you can tell by my long-windedness right now, it's amazing to me. I'm trying to keep my focus and keep my calm because I want to just, be super fan right now. But I think that it's an amazing movie. I think they did an amazing job.
And what and another thing I want to add to that right quick, like how you said how it reminds you of a type of film that gives you a type of a different type of feel. This film reminds me of the last time I felt so connected to a film that was featuring something that looked like me. Uh, was last time when I went to see Straight Outta Compton. Walked into Straight Outta Compton, didn't have no what's the word I'm trying to say, no wherewithal, just knowing the lore of what was going on. I just knew bits and pieces of what I seen in the trailer. I didn't really know that much about Ice Cube, the whole the come up and stuff like that of NWA. But just a scene in that film, you felt it was not trying to hit you over the head with themes or messages, but it was just it felt authentic. It felt real. It felt natural. It didn't feel like it was trying to be scripted and trying to pretend to be something that it wasn't. And it's the same thing I felt with this film. It felt natural. Everything felt organic. Nothing felt forced. The accents. I know they were it's a made up dialect, but I was impressed by it. It didn't really take me out of the film. The characters, the cast, the imagery, all of it it screamed. I just for one word blackness, and it was a great film. It was a great film, and you didn't even have to be black to connect to the film, which is an amazing thing. Like if I was take the black thing away from it, it was just a damn good film. It's like when I watched Captain America 2. Just like it's a damn good film. When I watch Inception, it's a damn good film. This is not just to say this is a great black film. This is just a damn good film, and I'm very impressed. It blew me away from what I was going to expect, and it amped it up.
I mean, and it should have because this is one of the few times as African Americans we can see our struggles and our success at the same time.
Mm.
And that's probably what changes everything as far as our perspective is concerned. And then you go into the storyline as we move on to our plot and storyline feature. But this is a young king trying to figure out who to trust. And that's probably the strongest message that you can get from this movie right there. Is someone who's at the top of the world, but he has to figure out how can he move forward with Wakanda and making everything better for the current generation from the flaws that was in the past.
And you know what? I love how you just introduced that. And it's amazing. We were just talking about this before the podcast. We were going, me and Marcus was going back and forth. And what you were talking about to start the podcast, this is something I want to go into. And this is the thing that connected with me with watching this film. When I watch Marvel films, there's your typical Marvel what you want to say, their blueprint of what they like to follow. You have the villain, you have the good heroes, you have the great supporting characters, you have 3 acts, good action scenes, you have some comedy sprinkled in there, and it works. It makes $800 million worldwide. There you go, you got success. But the films that stand out in the universe are the films that you can connect to a little bit deeper. And so when you ask the comic book fan, or you go talk to the average Joe that's seen these movies, they'll tell you like the Captain America 2 Winter Soldier was a more powerful film because you can connect with Cap and his struggle of trying to find out what's the right thing and to find your place in society,
Yeah,
or
exactly. Trying to
and it,
find where you fit. Just
and it
trying to figure
connected. Yeah, and it connected with you. Or when you watch Iron Man, it connected with so many people in the first movie, but in the second, third movie, kind of fell off. It's like, oh, he's losing his ego. He's losing what's interesting about him. And that's the thing I loved about T'Challa. Like you said, a lot of people were complaining about Chadwick Boseman's portrayal of him, just saying that, in this cast, he doesn't stand out. But that's the thing about it that I love so much. He's such a subtle king in this movie that he knows how to balance his emotions. And that's the thing I loved about this film. And I love
because he's learning on the fly. Like we see him grow into a king like throughout the entire film. Like
exactly.
we seen him before he was a king, and then we seen him like actually take his throne back. So we
and
seen
he was dealing
him go through the motions.
and he was dealing with everything like a G would. Hey, he was not letting anything overwhelm him, or he wasn't letting anything get the best of him. And he handled everything great. And I think Chadwick Boseman did a great job as T'Challa. But we seen him do a great job in Civil War. And that's the thing about the thing I like about T'Challa. And the thing is, if you read the comic books or if you want to dig a little bit deeper, his character, or how Black Panther is, he's more of a, I don't say as much, but I command presence. So every time he was on screen, he had this presence, but he didn't have to say much. He had these other people around him that could be extra, like his sister could be a sister and talk a little bit more, or his mom can show that nurturing nature, or Okoye can be that general, that leader, but he can be just himself, just a subtle king that don't have to say much. I mean, I liked it.
How about you, Will?
I think that I agree with everything that y'all said first and foremost, but on top of that, I think one of the more interesting bits to the storyline is the fact that this young man coming into his own, taking on the responsibility title as well as the burden of being king, kind of gets waylaid by the curveball of the fact that this man that he held in such high regard in his father and all that it represents his legacy is kind of ripped away from him and tarnished once he finds out the circumstances of his uncle's death. And the thing that goes on with the dynamic that persists between him and Eric Killmonger, because what do you do when you're raised and you're in full belief of the fact that your father, the man that you idolize, that you pattern yourself after, is flawed, like tragically flawed, like everything that you were raised up to believe in, everything that you were raised up to believe from an ideal standpoint of the unity and solidarity, the concept of family, protecting your tribe and stuff like that. But you took one of your own and abandoned his child. And he has to deal with the gravity of that, because while he sees Eric Killmonger for the threat that he is, at the same time, you can also see that there's a lot of empathy and sympathy for what he represents and why he got to that point. And it's something that he has to deal with throughout the remainder of that movie once it dawns on him. It's something that he has to come to terms with as far as his relationship with his father. He has to come to terms with it as far as, how do I take that information and still be able to do my duties effectively as a king? It's one of those things that, equates to all of us. You go through and you might have that mom and dad and, everything is great and you think, the world of them. And then you find out after the fact that, well, they may not have been as great as you think they are. They may not have been as good as you think they are. How does that change you? How does that alter the way that you go about being yourself and doing your daily life? It's one of those other, sides of it that kind of hits home. It's a very interesting dynamic, and it's interesting to see the way that they actually handled it and went back and forth with it as far as the movie went. It provided a lot of thought-provoking dialogue and scenes, and it's just one of many of the issues that they chose to address in the movie.
Yeah, that's true, man. And man, M'Baku, man, he kind of made the
Hey,
movie to me, bro.
let's go ahead and pull the plate up. Let's get our knife and forks out, and let's dive into this. Let's get into some spoilers. Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. When they were on that cliff scene, and he was T'Challa just came off the ship, and they're talking about, does anybody want to challenge? And it was like, nah, this tribe turned it down. This tribe turned it down. And all of a sudden, you heard my boys coming out the cave. I was like, yo, come get his ass.
Hey,
I don't like him.
He was getting with him. Oh man, I love him, bro.
I don't like him. I don't like him for
bro.
one reason. I don't like him for one reason and one reason only. I
What
was
reason?
sitting in the movie theater, and that man came out, and for some reason, my wife's eyes lit up, and she was like, "Ooh, what you mean? Ooh, what you mean? Ooh, what you talking about?
You about to
What you
leave?
talking about? Who?
Oh, we about
Who
to
is
go.
that, baby? What character is that? That's nobody, baby. That's nobody. Why are you worried about what he?
He's an extra.
Ooh, baby, but look at him. No, let's not. You know what? Why don't you go get some popcorn right now? Why don't you do
Like
that?
without him,
You look it up.
without M'Baku, Black Panther is a wrap.
Oh yeah, man. He did that character was awesome. It's my favorite Black Panther villain, incidentally. But the young man did an outstanding job.
What?
An outstanding
And
job.
the comedy genius. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah,
And he has moved up the charts on the Bay list for so many sisters right now.
Oh yeah, he up there.
The internet blew the fuck up
If
once
you check
folks got exposed.
Michael B. Jordan had competition in that movie with him and
Yeah.
what you call it. I hear what the women talking about. I ain't we try and turn a blind eye to that, but hey, my boy killed it. He came in 2 nights.
And Griff, I must say, you may hate this, bro, but Everett Ross was actually the MVP. Like
the MVP.
Without Everett Ross, those weapons are gone, bro.
No, okay, so let's go ahead and
I know you said he didn't do a lot. I know you didn't say he did, but
he did a lot. He did a lot. But what I'm saying,
he set up the deal.
But this is the thing I'm trying to say with him is his character could have been replaced with somebody else. Like you didn't have
the actor. Okay.
No, not even at the actor. No, not even at the actor. His role in the movie. You could have literally taken him and threw him out the story and had like Shuri chase after the weapons. There's the people that flew off, or Black Panther, that he would have to combat these dudes before they got to the ship. You could have wrote his character out the story, and it wouldn't have really affected it. That's what I mean by that.
Pilots, like everything just
it was cool, but that was cool. Like
together.
you have to throw in your superhero trope in there. But me personally, I'm just saying that's the only negative of the movie, because I'm like, you could have. That was cool. That was cool and dandy. He had to be some type of plot device to fill characters in about Killmonger is hit agent and stuff like that. I understand it, but I mean, me personally, Martin Freeman's my boy. That's Bilbo Baggins holding it down. That's Mr. Watson.
Uncle Buzz time. Uncle Buzz time.
Oh, he flying in.
Uncle Buzz time. Everett Ross is key to that Black Panther movie for a few reasons.
Because he's his best friend in the comics, I remember.
No, it's not even. It's not a thing of him being the best friend or whatever. But the thing that a lot of people that are actually comic book readers can understand about what Ryan Coogler did, which I give him an immense amount of credit for, Ryan Coogler incorporated elements of all of the 3 modern writers for Black Panther: Christopher Priest, Reginald Hudlin, and Ta-Nehisi Coates. When Christopher Priest first brought back Black Panther and gave him the espionage world power type feel and stuff like that, his main liaison in their very first storyline was Agent Everett Ross. When you go through and you find out about the Dora Milaje, that's a nod to Reginald Hudlin, who created that part of the Black Panther mythos, as well as marrying her to Storm. You get the modern day conflict of what do I do with my country and maintain my, traditions as a king and stuff like that. That's Mr. Coates' reference in that genre as far as contributing those elements to that movie. I applaud him for the fact that he didn't neglect any of the other creative influences. He just incorporated all of them. That to me is one of the things that made him absolutely necessary. And then it's hard for you to believe an American point of reference or a point of contention in this movie with it singularly being Eric Killmonger, because we know that organically speaking, using logic, if Wakanda is going to become a blip on the radar as an international power, Oh, it's gonna be white folks in America that's gonna want in. They're gonna want to dig into it. They're gonna want to spy on it.
Yeah,
That
I
makes it
understand it, bro.
necessary.
Oh, I know,
That makes
understand
it.
this, bro. I just, I was just doing a little nitpicking, but I mean, all in
I
all,
feel you.
I ain't really
I
complaining too
feel you.
much about nothing. Mbaku,
And now I
he
will
sold it.
say that they picked a good actor because he warmed up. At first he was kind of stiff, but as he go through the movie, he
He
kind
got
of
the
jumps in
flavor.
and he jumps in and he
What
gets around. I
what did I
like it.
tell you, man? He sound like Bane, and I don't care what nobody says. If you go listen, if you go watch The Dark Knight Rises and listen to how Bane talk, oh Batman, you are here. I'm
I,
gonna destroy you.
I love that
Listen
scene you sent. I watched it like twice.
and listen to M'Baku talk when he talks to Black. Oh no, we're not going to come help you. They talk just alike, and it's funny to me.
Do you fear
I
I
was
me?
was
like,
born in the darkness.
yeah, it was. Hey, man, it was.
We adopted
His
us.
portrayal was live, and I'm hoping that they build on his character for the next film. I know they're going to greenlight a sequel because he has a big part to play in being
He has
a
the feelings
rival.
of a
Hey, hold on.
king.
Wait
He
for
can
it.
have
Wait
that
for it.
throne.
Wait for it. We'll get to that part later. We're gonna
Okay, we're gonna
expand
get to that.
and Griff, we done already wrote the plot for like the next 4 years worth
Oh,
of
we
movies.
sure did.
So
Marvel want to get involved.
yeah. We gotta wait on that. We can't give them the whole gas just yet. We gotta wait till later on in the podcast. But yeah, me and Griff got together and wrote like the plot for like the entire reboot of the Marvel universe and
For
like
the
the next
next
five
4
years worth of
decades.
movies.
Yeah. Next
Yeah,
4 decades.
yeah. We got like the next 5 years. Marvel, y'all need to come holler at us because we got all y'all's plots. We got
We
all
got
of
y'all.
them, fam.
We've been writing. We've been writing. Oh, and then since we were still talking about characters, we're gonna let to break this down. Okoye, man, from
Real.
start, from
Bro,
start.
it was certain scenes. She kind of looked like Tasha off Power, like certain scenes.
Oh, I
Certain
can see what
scenes,
you're
I
talking
kind of
about.
seen
When
I
it.
she
can.
had that wig on, when she had
That,
that
that,
wig on.
that dark skinned beauty started popping. I'm like,
Hey,
oh
man, she was popping out there. When she threw that wig at that one
Melanin
dude,
was
yeah.
popping.
I said, "Come get this."
Yes, Lord.
Like,
Melanin was popping everywhere.
snatch your wig off just like
I'm
that.
surprised she didn't have a purse. Pull out a hot comb. Ah, gotcha.
She
Where you
don't need
going?
it. She don't even need
Oh
it.
man, that scene right there set the tone because when they had that, when you listen to the Kendrick Lamar soundtrack of Black Panther, he had the African theme that was going through the album with the, it's like their tribal call, and then when they did like that tribal call when she started fighting in the casino, shit, it was on and popping, man. She was going to work.
Yes, Lord.
And I wasn't a big fan of Andy. Like, I understand the character was important, Ulysses Claw,
Oh,
but
Andy Serkis,
I wasn't a big fan of
Uh,
Andy,
bro.
man. Like,
Look, you know what's awesome
I
about
don't
that?
know what it was. I don't know what it
He's
was. He didn't sell me. He really
okay.
didn't.
So what's funny about his character is such a B-list villain, and the Marvel he's like a pest to Black Panther, but he can so easily be defeated. And what
Right.
I loved about Andy Serkis is Andy Serkis added a layer of entertainment or a level of, I want to say, something that made his character more interesting than if you would just took him from the comic books and threw him on the screen. And I liked what Andy did when he was like, "Oh, I made it rain," when the dollars was going everywhere, or him
yeah.
singing, "What is love, baby?" He added his own flair to it, and he was extra. But if you watch, what's the Age of
Yeah.
Ultron, he was extra. So I enjoyed it personally.
I guess that's just his character, but yeah, he was just a little.
I can
The
understand,
thing
man. I don't.
about the thing about Claw is this though too, and that goes back to like comparing the source material to what they do in the cinematic universe. Ulysses Claw in the cinematic universe is like a fourth of what he actually is in the comic books. Like Ulysses Claw
Didn't
in
he
the
take
comic
over
books
Wakanda?
is like a being comprised almost purely of energy. Like his hand is pretty much a big ass cone speaker, and he's like the master of sound. That's what made him arguably Black Panther's arch enemy in the comics, is because the one thing that they pride themselves on, this sound and energy absorbing metal vibranium, he's like the polar opposite. He's literally a master of manipulating sound. Uh, so from that standpoint, it kind of loses a little bit in the translation, but I get it because you have to kind of modernize the character and make him fit to what's
Mhm.
going on in your storyline. That's one of the actual few points that I have that I'm extremely disappointed about with this movie, because knowing what his stature is and what it should be, I think that he got killed way too easily.
But they
It was
did.
almost it was almost
Hey,
anticlimactic, and I'm
that's one of the
hoping
things.
that there's a Marvel spin where they kind of reanimate him or bring him back to life, or whatever, what have you. But to be that big of a villain to Black Panther specifically, I feel that the fact that he got killed too easy was a little anticlimactic to me. And the fact that he didn't die at the actual hands of Black Panther, I felt kind of cheated me personally.
And,
But that's
and
just me.
and I agree with you, and that's another flaw with the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe going. Because with a lot of these characters, at the gate we're going to get what 3 movies out of them, and they're probably going to be connected with the Avengers movie. So the true villains of these characters are not fully fleshed out, like with Iron Man, how they did with the Mandarin, how they just made him a shoestring laughable villain. But in the comic book, he's a real villain. Like you really go toe to toe with him. So I understand that. Same with him. It's like same with Claw. He's a if Black Panther had not to be connected at all to any other of these movies, I'm pretty sure he would have got a bigger role. But because of that, I'm pretty sure down the line they're gonna have 2. They're gonna introduce somebody who's a little bit more interesting, I'm guessing. But I understand what you're coming from, and I personally was pissed off at too when he shot him. I was like, God damn it, that's the end of Andy Serkis.
Like I was like, damn, that was quick.
I said,
and the funny part about it too is, being an Avengers fan as well, like one of their biggest arch enemies as far as groups is concerned is the Masters of Evil. Well, in the Masters of Evil, you have a Claw, you have a Zemo, and those characters have kind of in the cinematic universe pretty much run their course. So it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do now? How do you introduce and what other curveballs are you gonna throw me? You know what I'm saying? What's gonna happen after you do the Infinity War movies and reboot?
See, that's
who's the villain's gonna
That's why I don't even see. That's why it's like being a comic book fan. I don't even.
Oh yeah, I've completely separated myself. I just kind of chalk it up, and I'm like, okay, this is what y'all are doing. All right,
this is y'all interpretation. Just how when you create a new comic book, it's kind of your interpretation of whatever you in the past knowledge. It is what it is. Personally, I would like them to flesh out a lot of these characters a little bit more, but I know for the whole cinematic thing they doing, it is what it is. But personally, I thought Andy Serkis was off the chain. Fucking Caesar, Gollum. It was cinematic gold watching him and Martin Freeman go side to side and have this conversation, because we haven't seen them together on screen since The Hobbit. For people out there who are fans of the Lord of the Ring lore, that's Gollum is Andy Serkis, and then Martin Freeman is Bilbo Baggins. So that was good to see.
And then Wakabi, man, Daniel, I never thought in 1 year
he's still in that sunken place. He's still stuck in that sunken place, dog. I was like, he a ho-ho. Bro, ho-ho. Dog, you flipped on me that quick.
I'm like, bro, are you serious, dude?
You even let me explain myself. He gonna come to me, he's like, where's Claude? I'm just like, yo.
He's trying to get that heel of the year. He's trying to get that heel of the year. That's all that is. He's just trying to build up his villain brand.
I felt so bad for him last year. I hate him. I hate you.
I hated him too, man. I was like, this fool here didn't even let T'Challa explain himself before he flipped on him.
I know he's seen Claw. He's like, I just wanted to see the body or something. I'm like, come on, bro. You shouldn't be that easy just to turn.
You shouldn't be that happy, dog.
And that's I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say this other part for things I didn't like, but yeah, it was another part in the whole ordeal I just wasn't feeling either.
But yeah, I mean, his character, it was what it, but he was interesting. I mean, he was interesting enough because the dynamic between him and
he did his thing good, but he was a great trader.
Oh yeah, he was a good Judas. He was Judas out there. He was even trying to flip on this woman, and he was trying to flip on this woman.
He even had the
queen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, do you want?
He was old boy.
I know you.
He was old boy from Immature on You Got Served that taught the other team all the dance moves. What you doing? Just
what you doing? Hey, what was his name? What was that dude that flipped on him? Was it Razby? No, it wasn't Razby. What was the light skinned dude with the? No, who was it? Who
flipped on funny hair with the eye patch.
Oh yeah, with the funny hair. I said, how you gonna flip on me? You can't even dance with them played out dreads. I said, come on, dog. You got these braids in your head, dog. Don't you just hate a dude like that that's gonna flip on you like that?
Always gotta be one, man. Always be one.
And they were supposed to be friends since when they were younger. Dog, you flipped on me, and you dating my royal guard, and you gonna flip on me like this so easily to Michael B. Jordan? You looking like one of these bitches out here. No offense to the women, I'm sorry.
Have you seen this dude before, bro? He just got there. Like he
all Google eyes. Oh yeah, that's his name. I was like, come on, dog. Come on, dude. Come on. But who else we want to talk about? In Jobu, Sterling K. Brown, dog. I'm sorry. We have to give Sterling K. Brown.
Hey, since People versus OJ,
People versus OJ. This dude's acting skills are on par. No one's close to him, because the thing I like about his acting is he conveys emotion. he's a good crier, and you could feel like he's about to have a cry. Like I was just watching Wedding, not Wedding Ringer, Wedding Crash earlier, and I was watching Rachel, what's her name, Rachel McAdams, and the thing about her was she's not the greatest of actresses, but she's a good actress. But the thing that's good about her is that she's a good at conveying emotion, like crying and stuff like that, and he's good. So when Sterling K. Brown was having that conversation with T'Challa or T'Chaka when he was younger in his younger form, you felt his emotion of him getting mad at the guns in the street and being polluted. I mean, how violence is polluting in the community, and or when he was having a conversation with Michael B. Jordan, he was like, "You shed no tears for me," and I'm like, "Damn, dog, you ain't gonna cry. This your daddy, dog." Man,
Yeah,
you know,
and that scene of the movie, man, that was so powerful because it kept flashing him back to a child. Like he still felt like a child. You can sense that he had a lot of pain and anger from his childhood.
and you know, one thing I liked about Michael B. Jordan's character that I don't think people gave enough love to in that climactic, I mean not climactic, the at the third act of the film when him and Black Panther on the train down there and they're fighting and they're going back and forth, and it keeps showing his face. And if you look at Michael B. Jordan, man, the anger that this dude is exuding in his face, it's like he's tensed up, he's red, he's mad. This dude is conveying anger that he just really
Built
wants to.
up.
He just is out of control.
30 years of built up energy, man.
People were sitting up there saying like, "Oh, so how are you going to come here and your plan is going to be let's weaponize these other people and that's your plan." But it's just like this dude is a warrior. He's been through the army and all these training. So what he's going to do? He's going to do what he's known to do: get a weapon and do what you got to do. And I liked his character, and I like that he was modernized. I like that he had no African dialect. I like that he sounded like me and you. I enjoyed that when he's like, "Hey, auntie," I'm like, "Yeah, there you go. What up, auntie?
The
What up,
the
Stella?"
the best thing I liked about his character is that toward the end he showed a little bit of humility, and I guess this is what Wilson's saying that he wasn't a true villain, because for a minute he's just a normal person enjoying that sunset at the end or sunrise at the end.
He
So
did, and he did
and
drop
then,
that.
but he went right back to himself. He
Bro,
he
As-
he never did a full turn.
and
He
that's
kept
the
the same.
and I'm sorry, Marcus.
you
Marcus,
good?
I didn't mean to cut you off right quick.
You
But
good?
the thing about him that I loved about his character was the same thing I loved about Zod's character in Man of Steel, and that's the thing that's underappreciated is they stayed true to themselves. They saw
Mhm.
themselves as not a villain. I'm trying to do what I feel is
Yeah.
right. And just because that's how you feel is right doesn't mean that's always right. And that's always the back and forth that we go through in life and we go through at work and with family. It's just like because you think it's right doesn't mean that it's always going to be right. There's always that two sides to every coin. And I love it how he was sitting up there saying that he'd rather be thrown off the boat
He rather
like
jump
his
off the ship than live in
in
bondage.
bondage. And I loved it. He went out like a G. And I was like, hey,
Mhm.
that dude was just like smoke weed every day and just walked off. And I was like, hell yeah, way to drop that
I'm
line.
out. I'm out, bro.
I was like, way to drop that shit and
I'm
just
out.
roll up out of there. Mic drop it.
Because you was just starting like, oh, like man, you starting to feel pity. It's like, nah, he's still an
I was
asshole.
like, yeah, they gonna heal this dude. He gonna flip around. He gonna do the Marvel thing. He gonna turn around and be like Loki and be joking with T'Challa the next movie. And that
Nah.
nigga's like, nah, dog. I'd rather die. See you. I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no. That man said I gotta go back to being Human Torch in Fantastic Four.
But
He gotta go back to his old throwaway role.
oh
Eric
my god,
Killmonger represented a huge subplot in that movie that has rarely, if ever, been addressed on a big screen. And that's this: there's a reluctancy for a lot of people to acknowledge the fact that while we all are encouraged to take pride in our heritage and in our history, due to circumstances pertaining to our history, there is a significant disconnect with a large amount of Black Americans as it pertains to how they are viewed, received, and looked at by Black Africans. A lot of that has to do with circumstances in which the slave trade occurred, certain sentiments that are passed over due to things that have been now acknowledged or not acknowledged, but there is a strong resonance with that character interaction because there is a large segment of the people domestically that look and see Black Africans, and not representing all of them, but there are a significant amount of Black Africans that have a tendency to try to look down their nose at African Americans and kind of think of them as less than, because of the fact that, oh, well, you guys were slaves and you were over here and this, that, and the other, to which the retort is, well, your ancestors didn't protect us enough to keep us from coming over here. So, you get that interactive going with it. And it's one of the reasons why his portrayal was so strong. And other than the occasional punchline, everything that came out of Michael B. Jordan's mouth had power behind it, because it was directly pertaining to issues that we, whether we want to be open about it or not, deal with currently. We sit and we say, well, oh, we had to go through this and go through that. And his response is, well, you guys are this great, mighty empire and you have all these resources. Why didn't you never come and help us? Why did you just abandon us and leave us there? Those kinds of premises and themes resonate as right now. I mean, there's so many things that you have as far as sway and power, and the amount of resources and the amount of leverage that you have as it pertains to Africans and them as a country with their resources. I mean, half of the luxuries and stuff like that we experience worldwide comes from that continent, whether it be jewelry and resources, oil, et cetera, you know, but you never thought to leverage that stuff to try to use your bargaining power and things like that to help emancipate us when we were over here in bondage and suffering from Jim Crow and segregation and everything else. And then it gets reversed, because on the flip side, those same African Americans are like, but we were the ones that were screaming the loudest as part of a world power to try to get you guys emancipated, to go through and come through with those embargoes and stuff to end apartheid, so you guys could have equal footing, so you could actually use those resources that people were taking away from you, et cetera, et cetera. That back and forth goes through that movie, and literally right when you want to think about Killmonger as a villain, it's like, but wait, the shit that he's saying makes a lot of sense. It's just that interesting dynamic right there. And it's one of those things that makes it kind of uncomfortable for some folks that aren't really exposed to that or don't really deal with that. But it's very significant topics. It's a very significant issue. And we still to this day have not fully come to acknowledge it or get past that point, come to some sort of reckoning when it comes to those kinds of issues to this very day with a lot of people. That's a very, very moving and powerful subplot to this movie that kind of makes it more than just a pop culture thing. It makes it a cultural thing. Uh, I thought that they did an excellent job with that. I thought that it was pretty ballsy of Marvel to be willing to open up and have those kinds of topics and stuff be addressed and explored, because they really didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those things that had to be encouraged, but it's one of those things that for the culture had to be put out there, because people have to understand that it's been an issue. It's still an issue. What are we going to do to keep it from not being an issue moving forward? Because with that underlying theme still in existence, how can we ever hope as a race to really achieve unity, like real unity, if you still have those underlying, borderline resentment towards one another because of things that have happened and haven't been properly addressed or acknowledged?
Exactly,
You know
because
what I'm saying?
he was forcing oppression left and right. Because he was basically like, we're going to pass out these vibranium weaponry, and we're just going to arm, our soldiers, and we're going to, if they don't get, they ain't with it, you out of here.
Yeah, I mean, when he came up to T'Challa and he was like, well, okay, y'all had all this stuff all this time and stuff like that, and we've been over here suffering and stuff, and y'all ain't never did nothing to help us.
But it's like,
very real point. What do you say to that?
But
you know what I'm saying?
I love it how I always love it how they flip it on, like how T'Challa flips it on them later on. It's like you're basically coming the person that you hated the most, like the person that you were mad that people were oppressing you, but you just want to oppress them. And it's just like you don't.
And to a certain extent, that's human nature, because the one thing that you think about, if you've been downtrodden, if you've been that person that's had the sand kicked in your face and you've been bullied, well, the first time that you actually get an opportunity and you get the means to level the playing field or get that leverage over somebody, that's your first inclination too. I'm going to make you feel the same way you made me feel, so you can understand the pain that I've gone through.
That's
so you can get where I'm coming from. Yeah. I mean, but it's a natural reaction. And that's the thing that makes it so interesting as well, is because you can be mad at him. You can claim that he's, being negative and stuff like that. But how much of it is negativity and how much of it is just him being honest about himself emotionally? I mean, if you've gone through and you literally find out that you're a member of arguably the most powerful nation in the world, and they literally knowingly flat out abandoned you.
That's
To
what
expect anything less is like weird to me. Like, I would fully expect Eric Killmonger to be Eric Killmonger, considering those circumstances.
And that's the thing that I love about this film, because this when me and you watch a film, or DeMarcus, or just people that enjoy film, you can take a deeper dive. So for the everyday person that's just watching this movie, they're like, okay, that was pretty entertaining. I didn't like this, I didn't like that. But until you try to take an extra peek behind the curtain of what you see and dive a little bit deeper, you can't get none of these themes. So another one that I like is how you were addressing what Eric Killmonger is. A lot of people are complaining about his screen time. There's like, oh, Michael B. Jordan wasn't on screen enough. I didn't know enough about his character. You knew enough about his character that you could understand his emotions when he's whooping T'Challa's ass and he's like, is this your king?
What?
This is the person that's supposed to protect you? And you can understand why he hates him, because like Marcus just said, this is a man who realized when he was a kid, when he found that book, probably, that he was a part of royalty. So when he knew that he was a part of royalty and found out that, you killed your brother because over a dispute, and you take it and you didn't have the means to even help me or even look after me or even show me no type of affection, and you just toss me to the side, of course I'm gonna have some type of animosity against you. And I love it how people didn't try to look at those scenes. That's why we say the intro scene is so pivotal to the movie, because you didn't need to know the full backstory of Michael B. Jordan. All you needed to know was it was this kid being left. His dad is
in 1992. That was one of the most trying,
the harshest times of being black in America was in 1992, and you dealing with that. You should know enough. You should know enough. Well, a lot of people, maybe the people in Japan or people overseas, don't know about that. But enough people in USA that we live in should know that. And so that's why it discerns me and it bothers me when I see a review of a person saying, oh, I didn't get enough because I didn't understand his character. How did you not understand his character? Like, what are you looking at? I laugh at that shit.
Then they gave him like 2 thorough breakdowns like throughout the movie. If you just paid attention, they broke him down twice just to make sure that you knew what you was dealing with. Like, this dude was a beast.
He was a modern day character, just like me and you. Just like how we talk, and we talk with a certain slang, and we don't talk proper. That's how he talked. But guess what? This dude had military training, and he knew one thing, that T'Chaka is a fucked up person because he killed my daddy and rolled out and just threw me to the side. And you tell me how you come up. How does people come up? Every black person that we encounter, from black fathers to black brothers to black people we encounter at our jobs that don't have a father, and how do they turn up? You know what I'm talking about? So this man is like, that your brother, my uncle killed my daddy. Like, I'm talking about, like, that's gonna feel us some type of way. And I just don't understand how people don't. I don't know. It is what it is. I digress.
And they living their best life in Wakanda. Yeah,
you out here shaking and jiving, looking fresh.
Living your best life in that black suit, man. I want a black suit. Shoot.
Yeah. I want a black suit. I want a gold suit. Leopards on it. Shit, I want to stand out.
Man, was there anything in particular y'all didn't like about the film? If you have to point something out.
This is that type of film, man. It's that type of film where it could easily be, damn, that was the best film I didn't see, or damn, that was the best Marvel film, or some shit like that. But then you have to nitpick it some type of way, and you got to be like, the CGI was a little off right there. Oh, the third act, they were looking cartoony, look video game-ish. But it's just like, did it take you out of the movie? Because
we realize we're dealing with like new technology, so
exactly,
it's gonna look a little quirky.
That's what blows my mind. You're watching a fucking comic book movie. What are you thinking? This shit is not real. These niggas cannot fall off from a fucking cliff like 1,000 feet and then land on fucking train tracks and start walking like, oh, let's keep the fight
they
going.
driving a car in a whole different country. Like, bro, I'm not
just like,
even
come on,
driving this
like,
with. Like, what?
Like, really? Ain't no cops came up. Ain't no cops said, hey man, pull that black
with no driver.
You got Batman on fucking top of this hood. Get down off of there. Catwoman, brother. Like, get down. What you doing?
Now, I don't know if I missed it, and maybe it's me being a little petty, but how exactly did Killmonger know how to get to Wakanda?
Oh, I don't know.
And
he had a map. He had a note. You remember?
Well, you gotta remember, before his dad passed away, they had conversations, and he had passed on some of the lineage because he knew how to speak Wakandan, and he came up on his books and stuff like that. Yeah,
maybe I missed it, but to me, I felt like Claw should at least went to Wakanda. This is the one thing I didn't like, because for Daniel and his character to be so, oh man, he killed the guy that killed my dad. It's like, bro, if you could at least seen it with your own eyes. He could have been there. Like, oh, let me body this dude up and go show it to him. Now I'm about to be set. As soon as he get to Wakanda, they go Daniel right there.
Maybe he was or maybe he had that mindset of, let me kill this dude before he can betray me. Who knows? Personally, the scene threw me by ultimate surprise because
that was so important to Wakanda.
I literally thought that they were going to walk on the plane and they were going to get in the plane and to go to Wakanda, and it was going to be a whole different other plot line that I did not see coming. So when he pulled out the gun and shot him, I was like, oh shit!
Oh, so he's just going to travel down his own. Because at least Claude actually knows how to get there. Yeah, I'm sure he got the map and whatever, but this smart ass dude just found Wakanda and found the one person that he needed to see first. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I think the other part about that, though, as far as keeping it in tune and kind of logical with the plot, is it would have been really hard as hell for him to come in and challenge for kinghood if he brought a known enemy of Wakanda into Wakanda alive.
That is true. That is true.
If he'd have walked into the throne room with Ulysses Claw, you know what I'm saying? And him automatically knowing, and you know that he had to have previous knowledge of the fact that, he could play on old boy's traitorous instincts by showing him Claw and being like, well, I'm bringing to you what T'Challa couldn't, to help curry that favor and get him that inroad once he got into the throne room, to be able to have somebody to co-sign to make it legitimate. Because remember, when he initially wanted to challenge for the throne or whatever, they were all against it. Until my man co-signed, they was like, well, it is part of the rule. Okay. All right.
And that's true. And then he wouldn't even got that.
For him to be so down for him, like, bro, you don't actually know what he did. Like, bro, you just down for him.
That was just him going off of emotions. You brought me the body of the man to kill my parents. So whatever it is you want, I got you, fam. A lot
more emotion if, as soon as they popped up there, then he killed him like, bam, I did what T'Challa did.
But think about this. And I like what Marcus said. So if he's bringing Ulysses Claw wasn't about to come to Wakanda. Remember, he was like, "Can you drop me off at Wakanda?" So Claw had no intention.
Like, they a bunch of savages. I don't want no.
Like, damn that. So
didn't want that smoke. He's like, no.
So Michael B. Jordan wasn't gonna be like, "Hey, do you mind coming over here to Wakanda with me? I got to check in with Auntie right quick, and I got to let them know that you."
Once the plane got there, he could have knocked him out. They would have got.
See, it's doing the extra, and that's what you know what.
Just killing him off.
But you know what? It's awesome about that. Because we just laid it out for you. See, it's just like, what are you gonna do? What he had no intentions to go on Wakanda. So if you knock him out on the plane, or when he first got into Wakanda, what's gonna happen? You gonna fly into Wakanda? Let me knock you out, and then look, here you go. Here I present him. But you just kill him off already, and we ain't got to go through you flying into Wakanda, you going through the little magical tunnel, you killing extra time. It's like this. And
also on top of that, you don't want to have a live Claw get to Wakanda and him spill the beans on, well, I've been working with old boy. He helped me get this vibranium out of the museum, so he's not really working for y'all. He's just trying to come and take over and take advantage of all the stuff that you have. It was too many liabilities involved with him being there alive than with him just being there dead. He was more valuable to him as far as what he wanted to accomplish by just being that dead body to sway and curry favor than if he would have been there alive to sit there and try to talk his way out of the situation. Because Claw would have talked and spilled all the beans.
And I love what
Michael B. Jordan.
And I love what Marcus just said, conclude this is when you kind of conclude in the pieces to the puzzle on your own. Also, look at this. If he would have brought in Claw, and the only other person that knew about the instance was T'Challa. But on top of that, T'Challa saw him, could have stopped him, because guess what? You just took a grenade. you got this old invulnerable suit on. You could have bounced back up, but he saw that ring. He was like, oh shit, and that's when he got stuck. So he would expose himself because it's like, oh well, you had a point. You could have stopped him. You got the heart of the what you call it, the heart of whatever up in you. You
Yeah.
could have bounced back up and got him, but you got shook up because you saw that ring. So you had to explain yourself. That's why Killmonger never put him on blast.
Yeah, I just wanted a different way for him to get there. But I mean, all in all, like I said, that's the
Hey,
only little thing I
they
can
might
take.
remix it, and when we come out with the Blu-ray, it might be out there as an alternate scene on the
Yeah,
director's cut. We never know. I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah, they
you
could
never
be
know.
singing. They could be saying. They could be singing. All pimping all over the world in the helicopter as I get to Wakanda.
You know what
You
I'm
never
saying?
know. It's,
Yeah.
alternate, and they just jamming, getting fucked up in the thing, and he knock him upside the head with a bottle or some shit. And boom, there
yeah,
you
that's,
go.
that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying out there, I wanted Claude to be in the film a little bit longer because of his importance to the Black Panther character, and then I just wanted a little bit of clearer picture of exactly how he got there without never going there before.
Yeah,
Those are the only two things I can take away from this film.
Yeah.
yeah, I just
I
pieced it
understand.
together when he found that book. That's why I was just like, oh, well, I guess he knew where Wakanda was at this whole time.
I mean, and,
And
and that could be true because he has traveled. He's done so many missions, so he
And
knows
he
how to
also
get around.
probably, and you know what? And another thing is, and I thought about this. Sorry to go too long. Was I'm pretty sure his dad told him that he was kind of who Claw was and how what he's meant to the
Yeah, because he
whole
worked with him
back and
too. Yeah,
forth.
he had
And
to.
the thing that's also funny about that, if he knew that and he knew all about that, he probably knew that I can't just pull up to Wakanda and just be like, "Hey, I'm the cousin of T'Challa." That's it. You know, they gonna shoot him or kill him on sight because you ain't supposed to even know we exist, Pippin. You ain't even supposed to be here or whatever. So they wouldn't kill him. So if I bring you, hey, I got this dead dude that y'all liked, that y'all were trying to kill.
Wakabi was important to the entire film. Also,
Man, Wakabi is a
him
snitch.
him being him being a traitor, it made everything possible. It made that second challenge go off the chain.
Yeah,
And,
he did pull out the rhinos.
Zuri had to get out of there. Zuri had to,
Gee, hey, I'm mad they killed Forrest Whitaker. Man, he dies in every role, man. It's just like they just bring him in to say some good swagger lines and hey, kill him off. Kill him off.
he
Well,
fine.
that was part of the comeuppance as well, and you know, part of the hmm, let me see how I want to say this. It was part of the closure for Killmonger as well because okay, now I got a piece of the man that helped contribute to my father's death by diming him out and not being loyal to him personally. You were just here to be a hired hand and spy on my dad and expose him. For whatever the reasons may be, whether you agree with them or not, you know, as far as that subplot goes. Uh, but I think that that was one of those moments for Killmonger as kind of the anti-hero to have his moment of closure, his moment of validation, his moment of for lack of a better term, triumph in getting somebody that he felt got to his family and helped put him in the situation that he was in. Because it wasn't just T'Chaka that walked away from that building and left him there. Forrest Whitaker left him there too.
That's true. Oh, and Marcus, I love it how they address. If you listen to the podcast, we talked about this. How the fat, older, the Chaka was not going to convince us that he was this Black Panther that was whooping ass back in the day, and they showed us the younger version. I thought of Marcus. I said, "Hey, they finally answered what
Now
we was doing."
you know a funny Easter egg that I heard about that.
Drop it.
T'Chaka, the older version, is in Civil War and is in Black Panther. Is supposed to be related to the younger version.
Yeah, that's his son. His son is the
Yeah,
younger version.
yeah. That I thought that was
Same
really
with
cool.
Forrest, and that's what's even crazier is Forrest Whitaker's son is the younger version of who he plays.
Yeah, that was Denzel Whitaker. Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought that was really cool that they would go through and have that in there. For a lot of people that don't know that, so you know you have that part of connectivity as well. Um, which I thought was
There
just,
was
you know, another one of those clever things about the whole movie experience anyway.
and whatever. Oh, let me go ahead and so we can finish wrapping this up. Another thing that there was not too much that I didn't like at this film. There's not a lot that there was some questionable CGI moments that I'm gonna knock it like a couple .02 or something that, but it didn't really take me out the film. All in all, it was a great film. I enjoyed the action. I've seen it twice already. Can't wait to see it again tomorrow, President's Day. I enjoy seeing everybody in their costumes. I'm loving all the unity that's going on. I'm loving just the messages, the themes, the cast experience. I'm loving just Ryan Coogler just holding it down as one of these black directors that's getting it done, man. Him and F. Gary Gray are two African American brothers, young African American brothers that are doing great film, that are doing amazing film. F. Gary Gray has did Straight Outta Compton, Italian Job. He also did. He just did Fast 8 or whatnot, or 8, 9, whatever number they on. Ryan Coogler,
whatever those things.
Fast Furious, and what are they on Space right now or something like that? But it's good to see. It's just good to see a great film to kick off this year, which I think is going to be a good year for film. And I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I love Black Panther. It was a great, and to throw in, because I'm pretty sure people are gonna ask, like, where would you rank it in your?
No,
Oh, we're not gonna talk about that.
no. In our podcast that we do, in addition to this special edition this week, we were running down our personal top 10s all the time.
We sure did.
Don't you give people away. Don't you give it away.
Okay, I ain't gonna drop it out there. But
don't
all in all,
I'm gonna do it.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, Marcus got to do his dislikes, and then we'll go ahead and do it. Our
For me, mine is twofold. First and foremost, as a Black Panther fan, the only issue that I had with it, really two issues that I had with it. One, I'm selfish. I wish it was longer. Period, point blank, flat out. Yes. I just wish it was longer. It felt like it went too fast for me.
Way too fast.
Secondly, and this has been a thing that we've all commonly agreed on. And again, it's just nitpicking, but CGI at some points was kind of like, come on, but it didn't take away from the overall experience. It didn't really turn it off for me. It wasn't a deal breaker, but the CGI was kind of less than desirable at certain points in the movie. A little bit quirky, but I mean, it is what it is. As a comic book fan, as a comic book MCU fan, the only knock that I have on this movie, and I can't really call it, I guess it's my Eric Killmonger knock, because it's a knock, but it's not a knock. You literally can watch this movie and never have seen a Marvel movie before, because it's pretty much not connected to anything going on in that continuity leading up to Infinity War at all. Like, there's almost no references, nothing that's inferred or implied that would lead you to even think about Infinity War at that point. When you get to the after credit scenes, that's when they kind of loosely tied in. But other than that, there's literally nothing that connects it to the storyline that leads you to Infinity War. So as an MCU fan that's looking to see, how this all comes to this epic crest for the Infinity War and stuff like that, it really didn't contribute anything else to me to get me kind of piqued as far as my interest, other than the fact that I know that I'm going to see the Wakanda nation represent and Black Panther be at the forefront of this fight, against Thanos and stuff like that. But it didn't give me anything else to kind of pique my interest or get me charged up about, man, I can't wait for Infinity War. So that would be my only knock on that as an MCU fan.
You said it did. So you said, because it didn't have it in the movie. That's
because there wasn't anything that was giving you that immediate connection to it, and that's why I said it's a knock, but it's not a knock. It's a knock, but it's not a knock.
I see. That's why I liked it,
because as an MCU fan, I wanted something else to give me that last little nibble before I got to Infinity War. But as a Black Panther fan, I like the fact that they thought enough of the movie in its place that they just kind of let it stand alone and stand on its own.
And I love it that Ryan Coogler did, just as you said, he added it to the end of the film, the post-credit scenes, because they tie in personally, because it's subtle. It's subtle. It's a cookie crumb. And I think I know what it might be.
Crumb, bro.
I think it's a cookie crumb, and I think I know what's going to happen.
Now, we're going to debate on that after the podcast. We're not going to give them that one either, because I got some theories about that too. But I like the way they did that.
One thing I will say, if you do stay and you do watch the after credit scenes, I'm going to say this, because guess what? We're already spoiling it, so I'm going to throw it out there anyway. The thing that I want to say is, the same way when Iron Man came out and said, "Hey, guess what? I'm Iron Man," and he kind of just changed the level of playing field, and it was like, oh man, the villains want that Iron Man tech, and it was just like, okay, well, guess what? There's superheroes out there. T'Challa comes out and says that, I want to share Wakandan technology with these other nations and stuff like that.
But what can a nation of farmers do for us?
And the thing that blows my mind about that. This is going to change the landscape of the universe completely. You're about to see fucking floating ships. All that shit is about to be.
That smile he gave him when he asked that was everything. Because these motherfuckers don't know. These motherfuckers just do not know.
And let me have a nerd moment right quick. Can I have a nerd moment right quick? So if you're if you're a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of Marvel, if you're a fan of just everything Marvel does, back in the day, Lionsgate owned Marvel cartoon property, so they did the two Marvel Avengers movies, which was it kind of introduced the Avengers that what we see now. Did kind of a test run, and not everybody really realized that because the Iron Man cartoon movie that they did is just like how the Solo movie is. Same with Doctor Strange, it's just like how Doctor Strange Solo is. Same with the Avengers thing. And the thing about it was the way Wakanda came out in the cartoons and a lot of the comic books was there was a threat. There was an alien threat. I forgot who it was. Was it Chitauri or was it what you call it, Marcus? The shapeshifters, the scrolls. I don't forget who it was. It was an alien race of aliens that came down and invaded Earth, and Earth was losing. And Wakanda said, "You know what? We have to show ourselves to protect the world." And that's how they came out. And they were just like, "Okay." And the Earth was like, "Oh shit! Like it's we need these people help."
That lends itself to the Marvel Ultimates comic book storyline with the Chitauri invading and the Wakanda's game in the animated movies.
And what I'm thinking is Thanos is coming in May, and who just said, "Oh, let's go ahead and introduce our technology to the world." We're gonna need that shit with this purple nigga coming down.
Hello,
oh, man, it's gonna be. Oh, I can't wait.
If you say one more word, I'll feed you to my children.
Oh,
no, I'm just playing.
We're vegetarians.
That was arguably the line of the movie. Like on a comedy standpoint, that was arguably like the line of the movie because it was so much tension in that scene, the way it shaped up and the look on his face. And he went from like stone cold killer face to like, "Oh man, I'm just playing with you." It's
that scene, and then also the scene
we got refreshments in the front.
The scene with Okoye when she does the flip and Claw blows the car away and she lands and you're like, "Oh shit, Nakia, she's probably dead." Like there's blast and she come rolling up and
come rolling.
That's exactly.
Ryan. And that's the thing that makes Black Panther so great. The storyline, start to finish, great movie overall. As far as overall grade, I had to subtract 0.5 for a couple things. CGI, of course. Killmonger finding Wakanda, Claw's death too soon, and Black Panther being slightly overpowered at times. Not a lot, but just at times. I had to take off 0.5. 9.8 out of 10. Well, 9.8 out of 10. And I wish it was longer. I wish it was longer too.
It's amazing that, and I give this credit to Ryan Coogler on how he makes a long film feel condensed, because this film is one of the longest Marvel films, but guess what? It felt so short that you wanted more, and which I loved about this, and that's a flaw of Justice League. I'm not gonna get into that, whatever. But I love about this film is that its themes, its message that it sends, the negative or the criticism I have for this film, I can't really take away, because when I see a film and I see what you're trying to accomplish, those negative things that could be a knock on you don't distract. Like when I watch Man of Steel, there's CGI issues in Man of Steel, but because I'm enjoying about the message, the story, the character, the themes, the pacing, all that, it doesn't really bother me. It take me out the film. So I really enjoyed everything out of Black Panther. My issue where there was some minor issues that I had, but I would give it a 4.75 out of well, what are we gonna do? What 9.75 out of 10? I guess I'm gonna throw it that way. And I thought it was a phenomenal film. I enjoyed it. I had a great time at the premiere. And hey, man, it was a damn good film.
And Wilson,
I echo all of y'all's sentiments. I think that an outstanding job was done. I think that one of the beautiful aspects about a movie like this is outside of the overall spectacle of it and everything that it represents, everything that it brings to the table, is the fact that whether we thought it would be or not, it's turned out to be pretty polarizing with a lot of people. There's a lot of discussion about it, but not necessarily about the movie itself, which is something that's equal parts disturbing and alarming to me, because there were so many people that had so many opinions about it or about how people were reacting to it, and people hadn't even seen it yet. But nobody hates on a losing franchise, so you know, it had to be good when it all came out, and it'll be interesting to see if folks are willing to admit that they may have approached this wrong now that they've actually gotten a chance to see it and properly digest it. But for me, I take a half point off of it for the reasons that we discussed. So for me, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Uh, I am so happy that this movie was made and the way that it was made, the amount of creativity and research that was put into it to try to make it, even though it's a fictional account of a fantasy country, but they applied real world and actual organic African concepts to it to bring that vibrancy and that sense of empowerment, that sense of realism to it. There's nothing about it that really makes you think that it's fake or that it's not something that's possible. And when you can do that with a quote unquote fantasy movie, you've done an outstanding job as a director. Uh,
Exactly. And then and one thing I want to add to, and I want to discuss with Marcus right quick. I know that we're done with this,
oh,
but
we're
the
not
thing I
done.
love, with these Marvel films is the thing I love that stands out from the great Marvel films are those type of films where you feel the character. Everything feels natural, as I was saying earlier. Like Spider-Man: Homecoming, it felt naturally when you had the comedy. It doesn't force comedy. See, that's the thing that I hope Marvel looks at when they see this film. Like, oh, we really don't have to force a whole bunch of comedy down people's throat for people to be entertained, because that's my problem with a few of their films that I dislike in like the Thor movies or the Iron Man movies to a certain extent. And I wish they toned down the comedy some, because it takes away from the seriousness or the mature themes that they want to display, and that's the thing that I hope they take going forward with their movies and film franchise going forward.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. Anything else before we start to wrap things up?
But you get what you get what I'm saying? Like, because when I was watching Thor, and he's like, him and Hulk is fighting, and I'm just like, I don't feel like Hulk is like pissed off anymore. Like, I don't feel like Thor is just a god. He just seems like just a drunk ass, high
No,
schooler.
the characters have been pretty blunt. I expect them to start over completely. I think a lot of people are gonna die in this.
Oh,
in
I'm
this
loving it, because you know what? I'm loving it
and
because
it's
what
time.
me
It's
and
time for
Marcus,
something fresh. It's time for a fresh start.
and I love what me and Marcus talked about earlier. What the Marvel Cinematic Universe can do with the characters that they have coming in. That's like about to set up shop up in their house and pay rent to stay up in there. With the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and their villains and their role gallery, what they have and what the storylines you can introduce going forward will blow whatever the hell they did in the first two phases of this cinematic universe out the water, in my opinion, because honestly, Fantastic Four and X Men have damn near two of the greatest villains ever in Magneto and Doctor Doom, and you can really fuck some shit up with them two.
Oh, what?
Don't let Doctor Doom discover some vibranium sitting around and he throw that shit up in his suit.
He already
Everybody get fucked up.
he already know Magneto about that action, boy. He gonna he gonna come with the shit.
Man, I'm loving it, dog. I'm loving it. I'm loving it what they're going to do, and I'm loving it that Kevin Feige is letting these directors have full freedom to do whatever they want to do and creative freedom to do whatever they want to do for the most part. Oh, and a negative criticism I did have on the film that I did want to say is I wanted more of the Black Panther soundtrack on the movie. I
I
was
knew he
getting
was gonna
mad that
say that. I
I
knew he
was
was gonna say
mad
that.
that I literally got mad that when Michael
They
B.
had about 3 minutes.
Bro, when Michael B. Jordan pulled up to break Claw out, and that paramedic van pulled up, I said, "Damn, they about to drop that song." I said, "Yeah, yeah." Heavy in them streets, nothing. I was like, "Shit!" It was a perfect time to drop that song. Perfect time to drop that paramedic song off the
Yeah,
soundtrack.
they kept a lot of that soundtrack out that
They
movie.
could have, man. You talking about really just flipping it, man? They could have made this shit into a fucking concert.
Man, they ain't even need it though. They
They
ain't,
didn't.
that's why I
They
said
didn't.
the soundtrack was just extra. That's just the dessert on the side, man. It was
All
just
I got was my Jabari apes and man ape out there. My dog. I'm good. Sold. Let's go.
that's all you needed, bro. That's all you needed right there, man. But anything else? Anything else, fellas? When
Yes,
next time y'all going to
yes,
see it again?
there is something else actually.
What you
Uh,
got?
now that we've got through the cool and fun part and we've paid our proper respects and stuff like that to the movie and it's well deserved. I cannot simply stand by and not address some of the things that I've seen leading up to this movie. As I've said before in the podcast, there's been a lot of things that have been said, both positive and negative, about this movie, both before and now that it's actually been out and people have had a chance to see it. Um, some very disturbing themes that really kind of strike me as odd. You have people that are upset or talking down on people because they decided that they wanted to wear a traditional African garb or dress up for the premiere. You have people that are of the narrative of, well, it's not a quote unquote black movie because it's still white people behind it and they financed it and it's not for us. And you have those people that, oh, well, this isn't going to change anything. It's not like it's a big movement. Uh, it's nothing that's going to inspire anybody, and this, that, and the other. And for all of that, please let me say this. My name is Marcus Wilson. I'm 41 years old. I have been a nerd, a bona fide 100% to the core nerd my entire life. I am about this life. I've been a comic book geek. I've been reading comic books since I was 3, 4 years old. My uncle Andre Sparks helped me learn how to read by having me read comic books. I've been in that comic geek life my entire life. The one thing that you have to understand is this: the things that go on in this comic book culture, the things that we readily and normally experience and stuff like that may seem outlandish or different or not make sense to you, and that's fine. I get it. This movie is groundbreaking and revolutionary in the fact that a large contingent of the people that have seen this movie may have never seen a comic book movie before or may not even know anything about comic books, period. I get that as well. I have no problem with that. However, the minute that you decide that you want to inject negativity and try to shame people for indulging in their pastime of choice, the minute that you decide that you want to come down and talk bad about folks and try to make this a political issue about something that exists in a fantasy world, the minute that you decide that you want to tell people how they can appropriately pay homage or celebrate seeing something that they may have never ever seen before in their lives, from the bottom of my heart and with everything that I have, and please believe me when I'm completely serious when I say this, fuck you. I
Mister
really
Quit
don't
that
give a shit.
bullshit.
We didn't invite you to this shit. We didn't beg you to come watch this shit. We didn't really give a fuck if you saw it or not. This is our shit. All us blurs, all us nerds, all us comic geek chic folks, all us pop culture vultures, we've been just fine for decades because it ain't just started happening this year with us watching these movies or indulging in this lifestyle or in this culture. We do comic cons, we do cosplay on the regular. I could give a fuck if you like that shit or not. If you don't like it, nobody asked you to participate. I can enjoy the movie whether you're in the theater or not. I don't need your opinion. I don't need you talking down. I don't need you telling me ridiculous shit like, oh, well, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to cause any kind of movement or anything like that. I have a young goddaughter that's in Tallahassee, Florida right now that just went and saw Black Panther with her mom and dad. Her mom has the same hairstyle as the Dora Milaje. The first thing that she said to her mom when she saw the movie was, oh, wow, mom, all of these ladies look just like you. If you can't appreciate the impact and influence of something like that on that moment, fuck you. We don't need you. If you can't sit and understand that while the genre caters in indirectly towards an adult crowd and an adult demographic, but it's fully intended on going through and entertaining a younger audience, inspiring a new generation of fans, fuck you. Keep your cynical ass attitude and your whack ass memes and your down talking and shit like that to somebody who gives a fuck. We don't want to hear that shit. We didn't ask you for that shit. When you come through and you talk about something like movies, a pastime, I call it the Nelly principle. It's the EIEI. A movie is going to entertain, it's going to inform, it may educate, and it'll probably inspire, especially when you talk about stuff that caters to youth or things that deal with fantasy or fiction.
Uh oh.
When you hit those issues, it's what it's supposed to be. That's what makes it magical. That's what makes it memorable. There's not a fucking adult alive right now that can sit and tell me that they've lived an actual normal life and as a kid didn't see a movie based on fantasy that didn't inspire them in some way.
It's an escape from
You wouldn't
reality.
have half the shit that you have right now if you didn't have that ability to dream. The most criminal thing that you can do as an adult human being is limit somebody else's ability to dream. That shit is fucking wrong because it goes against the natural fabric and behavior of human nature. Period. So fuck you if you don't get it. Fuck you if you don't like it. Kids have too much to deal with nowadays with everybody wanting them to grow up so fast and all of the problems and difficulties and situations that they go through now to not have some sort of balance and some sort of getaway to at least be able to breathe, relax, and look at something that may give them hope. If you want to take that away from kids and stuff like that, fuck you too. Period. Point blank. I really don't give a shit. And I don't care who likes what I'm saying or who don't like what I'm saying because I'm right here. I got plenty of time. It don't really matter to me. And lastly, when it comes to this whole thing of, oh, this not going to be a movement, it's not going to do this, it's not really a black movie, it's for these white folks and they financing it and shit like that, you motherfuckers are posting up memes with that phone that was made by somebody white that's benefiting from it on a Facebook page or an Instagram or a Snapchat that's run and financed by white people. So what in the fuck are you talking about at the end of the day? Because if it wasn't for all of them white-owned enterprises and entities, we couldn't hear you dumbass motherfuckers talking in the first place. Period. Point blank. Anybody that wants to get it, come holler at your boy, whether it be on our Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, if you matter enough to me to be my friend. But if not, fuck you and crawl back in the hole that you came out of. Period.
Yeah, he hot.
Want some, come get some. And if you man or woman enough, you can come fucking take some.
Man, Wilson got me ready to run through a wall, man. Who wants some? Who wants some with Wilson?
This is about the culture. The name of this motherfucking podcast is Fish and Grits for the Culture. This is the epitome of said culture. All that other pretentious, divisive, inflammatory shit that you coming with, keep that shit on the back page. Go back to the fucking hole that you crawled out of. Period. It's not necessary. It's not productive. It's not for the movement. It's not for the betterment. It's not for the unity. You motherfuckers are sitting here looking like the fucking oxymorons and hypocrites that you've always been. That shit makes no sense to me.
That's it for the culture.
He dropped them bombs on them boys. They wasn't even ready.
Bombs over bag.
I love what he said because he has a point because it's a lot of negative feedback coming back from this film from our people in general, just feeding into the negative criticism that's always out there that everything is controlled by the white man, it's operated by the white man. We can't get no glorification or no love from the white man, and if we get love from the white man, you are considered as a sellout or Uncle Tom or full of shit or something like that. And I think it's ridiculous. This is a movie that had a whole black director that was. A lot of Marvel movies are produced by a black man who runs that runs the production side of Marvel. Kevin Feige runs Marvel, but the person that produces and
who has stated on record that this is the best movie that Marvel has ever made. Check the receipts.
Yeah.
That's all facts, bro.
But what's crazy, what I think it's just crazy that these people are just really knocking this film. At the end of the day, these are black actors that are going to inspire a lot of younger people to say, guess what, that I can be an actor, because guess what, there was a long period of time where we was like, oh, we weren't being represented in film enough, and then we finally get into a film where it's a lot of us in the film and we find some way to criticize it. And I think that's hilarious that we finding some type of way to knock something. Oh, because guess what, I didn't go see Birth of a Nation or 12 Years a Slave or some shit like that I'm all of a sudden that I'm subjected to not being woke enough and I have to go see Black Panther.
But you know what? That's the problem in and of itself, because you get too many of these so-called woke people, you get too many of these so-called radical people, you get so many of these so-called hotep people that sit and complain about the fact that we're tired of seeing slave movies. We're tired of seeing ourselves represented like this, that, and the other. And the first time you actually get a multimedia smash of a body that erase those stigmas and stereotypes, why are y'all costumes? When in the fuck has traditional African garb for people indigenous to the country a fucking costume? Ain't nobody wearing capes and tights. Motherfucker, we wearing dashikis. We wearing head wraps. That shit ain't a fucking costume. That shit kills me. That shit kills that people want to talk out of convenience out of both sides of their face. And half of them are just being trendy and trying to go along to get along because they heard one of their friends talk down on it. So let me get in on it and talk down on it too. And the other half of these motherfuckers don't even know what they're talking about because they don't know the culture that it is that they're trying to talk down on in the first place. We know that it's fantasy. We know that it's fictional. That's what makes us like it because it's something that helps us get away from some of the shit that we might not be too comfortable with that goes on in everyday life right now. It can't always be grit and grime and despair and gloom. Sometimes you need a little break from all that shit to kind of get you that energy to recharge the battery and go face those issues head on. We live in a cynical ass world where people are so quick to want to rush and celebrate failure and refuse to acknowledge success. That shit is fucking amazing to me. It's amazing to me. But out of the same side of your face, you want to talk about, oh, well, we need to be like this and we need to have the unity and this, that. You're saying and spitting out all this divisive ass venom, but then you're going to say on the other side of your face, we need unity. Shut the entire fuck up.
And another thing that I love about this film is it portrayed a lot of the younger generation of talent that we have, or those that have been in the acting field, and it showed us in a certain light that guess what? For those next roles of Jimmy, James, John, and Jim Bob that they want to throw in these white films, instead of saying, "Hey, why do we replace him with an African American person or an Asian person or a Hispanic person or something like that?" We don't have to be confined to just a name and it has to be this type of stereotypical character or something like that. And that's what I love what this film did. It just opens the eyes to a lot of people that guess what? There is black talent out there. And if you look hard enough, guess what? Everybody's a good actor. And just because you have the name Tommy doesn't mean that you have to be white. You can be black and play Tommy there. Because I remember watching Martin and Tommy was in there and he sure wasn't white. So exactly. It is what it is. So I love it. I love it, and I hope this opens the door for a lot of African Americans out there that are in the acting field that are trying to get their name out there, that's trying to get in films like this, or trying to get into an everyday film. It could be in the next It's Complicated or some shit like that, or the next Diary of a Mad Black Woman 3 or some shit. Whatever you want to get into, I hope you get an opportunity just because that you can act and you're not held back because the way you look or the color of your skin. And I hope that we move past that. In the real world, when it comes from the job force to getting it accepted into colleges, that we shouldn't look at color, race, or religion or anything like that. We look at you and see what value that you bring to the table, and that's what it should be.
Yes, sir. You 100% right, my man.
And lastly, for me, guys, one last thing, real quick for me. Anybody that listens to this podcast, man, if you haven't seen this movie, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Don't take our opinions as gospel. Don't take anybody's opinion as gospel. Go see it. Make your own decision about it. You decide what it is that you like and don't like. You decide whether it's something that's good or something that's bad. We're going to give our opinions because we have our own passions about it and stuff like that. But we didn't take that from hearing what somebody else said. We went and saw it. And then we made an informed opinion about it based off facts, the things that we saw with our own two eyes, not off of what we read off of some meme or heard on somebody's post or somebody's tweet. We made the decision for ourselves. Sometimes you don't have to go along to get along. Make your own decisions. Be your own person. Have your own thought process when it comes to these kinds of things. You'd be surprised sometimes. You might actually impress yourself.
Yeah, get it how I live, huh? Motherfucker, get it. Yeah.
When next time y'all seeing it again?
Tomorrow.
Both of y'all going tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm stepping in that thing.
You lucky dogs. You're killing me with it. But as always, y'all can catch us on melanatedandilluminated.com/fish and grits. We're going to have another episode coming for you very soon. And also, the top 10 comic books are going to be coming to you guys. So we're going to have to get a date on that whenever y'all want to knock that out. That may be
our very next podcast. We will be running down our personal top 10 comic book movies of all time.
You
Book
want
it.
to do it this week? You done?
Yeah, because there's no NBA going on. There's no
What,
NFL
the
really
All
going
Star?
on.
You ain't
Yeah.
watching the All Star game, Mr. Basketball? I know you.
Like I said,
Anything.
there's no NBA business going on.
Mr. Basketball.
Like I said, the Raptors are the #1 seed in the East. The
Oh
Rockets
my
are the
God.
#1 seed in the West. You know what it's going to be. I called
And
it.
ain't
I
neither
said
one
it
of them
before
making the
season.
finals.
I said the Raptors and the Rockets are going to be in the finals. Let's go. It's an R party over there.
Oh my God.
I never freeze. I never freeze.
Griff is having the greatest February of his
Man,
life.
Yes,
Griff
sir.
might be
Yes,
having
sir.
Griff might be having the greatest overall sports season of his life. Period.
Hey, let me go ahead and tell y'all boys. Next Monday, I will be going to see Loot, the man I've been praising who had the album of the year last.
I don't know, man.
Going
That
to
sounds.
see
Hey,
Loot.
Demarcus. That sounds like it might be a Facebook Live post. He might have to hit us up with that Facebook Live post live from that concert.
He ain't about that
Live
Luke
from
post.
Loot. Oh,
I need to
back
see
three
it. I need to
rows
see
where
it.
you taking me. Yeah, I'm
I need
being
to see
there
it.
with a wave, man.
I need to see you
Life is
turned up
good,
in
man.
that crowd.
Life is gonna be good.
Griff is living that life over there, bro. Living that
Man,
life for real.
everybody ain't
But
able.
you know what I'm saying? This Savage
My
like have his
Packers was
birthday last
terrible.
month.
Everybody on my Spurs is hurt. It's rough out here on this side,
Oh,
man.
it's the struggle cities.
It's struggle, man. It's struggle.
But man, as for now, this has been Fish and Grits, and Wakanda lives forever.
For fucking ever.
I never freeze.